Producer Grind and Producer Culture has definitely changed my life in so many ways. There's never enough content. Get out there and create that content. Like, you never know how it can change your life. All the hate in the producer community, all it does is just hold us back. So Producer Culture and Producer Grind coming together and sharing these interviews, it has made the impact of the producer community like so much bigger. We need to work together. So yeah.
We are now on the 5th episode of the Producer Royalty Podcast. This is the last episode that I shot in Atlanta when I went down there about 2 months ago now. And for this one, we're sitting with Mimi from Producer Culture. If you didn't see the first episode, I interviewed UnBEATable, who has been hosting the Producer Grind interviews for a long time. And Mimi was hosting Producer Culture interviews before Producer Culture started working with Producer Grind and collabing on those podcasts together. So together, UnBEATable and Mimi have interviewed some of the biggest producers in the world, including SOUTHSIDE, Metro Boomin, Taz Taylor, and so many others. Mimi has achieved a lot at such a young age, and I really respect how much of a self-starter she is. She's hosted some of the biggest beat battles in Atlanta, managed some major artists and producers, including 2C and Ant Chamberlain and many more, and has interviewed some of the biggest producers in the industry. And in this interview, she talks about how she got her first internships and how she leveraged her experience to get those first positions, getting comfortable on camera, strategies for putting together different events, different tips for working with managers, and how she built relationships to get to where she is now. And she talks about what it's like interviewing some of the biggest producers in the world. So before we get to the episode, just wanted to say thank you so much for everybody who tuned in for the first episode of the Producer Royalty Podcast all the way till now. I know a lot of you guys have. There's been some production issues like the camera quality and the audio, but it was my first time putting together a podcast completely on my own. Moving forward, I'm going to be hosting a lot of them in New York. If you guys have heard of WTF Media Studios, they're probably the most famous podcast studio in the country. I'm going to be booking all my New York interviews over there. So the next episodes are going to look super clean. We're going to LA next month, and if I told you some of the people we're going to be interviewing, you probably wouldn't believe me, or you would see why I'm saying that. But I hope you guys had a great new year, and please help us out and get this information out there. If you liked what you've been seeing, please subscribe and share this with a friend. All right, let's get to the episode. Welcome back to another episode of the Producer Royalty Podcast. We are here today with Mimi from Producer Culture and ProducerGrind. Thank you so much for joining me, Mimi. How you doing today?
I'm doing good, of course. No problem.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it. So, like,
happy to be here.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Thank you. So, can you just tell the people a little bit about like your introduction into the music industry in general?
Yeah, of course. I would say, I mean, I did like marketing internships when I was in school, but I would say like around my junior year, my intro was like when I interned with Armani Martin, who is a video producer. So I was on set of like music videos like Tammy Rivera.
This was your
Little
first,
Yachty.
like literally your first introduction into the music industry.
Yeah, Little Yachty, Little Baby. She was working with artists like those. And then from there, I kind of... I reached out to 2C's manager and then started working with him as his assistant. And then like when I left there, I was like a manager A&R and still like assisting him as well. And then from there, I went to work with Station Mac, where she managed Polo G, Spice, who's a Jamaican artist and also Asian doll at the time, as well as her other son, Trench Baby, and her daughter, Leilani. So I helped with that. I was an assistant over there. And then from there, I just launched my own management company. And then came the events and, of course, interviews, Producer Grind, and Producer Culture.
Yeah, you got into so much. So, I know that was like, you just fast forwarded through that. I know there was a lot that went into that process before you got to the point where it's like, all right, now you're hosting like the, all the beat battles and all this type of stuff. So for you, like those first internships, how did you get those internships? Like, I know that's, that's a big thing to be able to start working with like 2C as your second interview or internship. I mean, so all that type of stuff.
So I went to Clark Atlanta University, and they one of my teachers, he would host these panels like once a week where he would bring in people in the music industry and allow us to like ask them questions and reach out to them and stuff. So after the panel, I just stayed and talked to Armani, and I just told her like I'm really interested in what she does. I want to learn more about it, and I would love to intern for her. And then she just said, okay, but you're gonna have to be like really consistent. I had to like write her a few times.
Yeah, you had to like follow up a lot.
I definitely had to follow up a lot. And then she finally, was like, okay, well, I have this music video today, like pull up at this time or whatever. And I had class that day, like at that time. I had a few classes actually. So I had to like reach out to my teachers. But thank God, like at Clark Atlanta, they understand like like once that you're trying to get into the field that you want to be in.
Yeah.
So they do make a little leeway for you. Like I just had to make sure that my work was turned in the next day. So they did allow me to leave class and go. So, and I'm really thankful for that opportunity. So
yeah. So you mentioned in a post that going to Clark was one of the best decisions that you made in your life, right? And I think that's really interesting because a lot of creatives and producers, or just creatives in general, say that like dropping out of school is one of the best decisions that they made in their life. So I'm wondering for you, what made going to Clark or going to undergrad like so valuable for you? What value did you get from that?
Well, Clark Atlanta is a HBCU, so that overall, like the culture there, like, you know, not having to feel like a minority, like that was like one of the best things about Clark. But also Clark has I would say Clark has the best mass media arts program, you know, out of all the colleges. So the connections that I was able to make, like the panels that I was able to sit on, the events that I was able to help coordinate, just from going to Clark is what helped me like get my foot into the industry. So that's why I would say going to Clark was one of the best decisions I ever made.
Yeah, that makes sense. So does it feel like a very quick process to get to kind of where you were? Like you're young as fuck and you're sitting on stages with some of the biggest producers, hosting some of the biggest producers, artists as well too. Like for you, does it feel like a quick process, or is that something that seems like you've been grinding for a long ass time?
It definitely wasn't quick. It definitely was a long process, a lot of hard work, long nights, a lot of hard work. I mean, like I would be at shows on the phone, like still sitting in my Zoom classes, still having to get my homework done while riding around all day in a black truck. Like it was just like a lot of work. I mean, I still don't think I'm anywhere yet. Like I still got a long way to go. So
you are you are interviewing you interviewed Metro Boomin. How can you say you're not anywhere yet? So all right. So let's hear a little bit of like where you want to be in the like 5-year vision. Let me hear a little bit of your 5-year vision.
I'm like really big on like not telling people your plans.
Really?
Cause they'll speak negative on it. You know, I just don't want nobody to like, you never know who's plotting against you. So I just like believe in grinding until you get there. Yeah. And then once you get there, like then you announce.
So you personally, like you definitely, do you set like a 5-year vision or?
Oh yeah, I definitely have my goals.
Okay, bet. So you don't necessarily have to say what your goals are, but like how do you set goals for yourself?
I'm just like I kind of always know what I want to do. Like I've always wanted to be like different. I've always wanted to like make my name be known, but not necessarily always have to be like in the limelight, you know?
Yeah.
I just want to leave my impact on music.
Okay. So as things have progressed recently, now you're on stage, you're hosting some of the biggest producers in the game, right? So for you, how has that process evolved for setting goals now that it's like, all right, like now I'm interviewing Metro Boomin, now I'm interviewing SOUTHSIDE and all these people in this space, like how have you adapted yourself to kind of evolve into like, all right, like what's next?
I mean,
I'll leave that open-ended for you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of always like thinking like what's next. Like once we did the Metro interview, I'm like, okay, well, who's next? Like, and I made my list of like people that I wanted to interview, and of course like SOUTHSIDE was one of them. TV was a little like doubtful, like, man, I've been trying to get that interview, I don't think we're gonna get it, but you know, it's just once I kind of set my mind to something, like I know I'm gonna get it done. It may not be like real quick and easy, but I know like at some point I'm gonna get it done. So made sure that we did that interview.
That confidence for you, where do you feel like that confidence came from for you? Was that something your parents instilled into you? Maybe school, maybe community? I
honestly just think I was born with it. Like I've always been like I'm gonna do it if I want to do it, like kind of person.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, if like when you have these new ideas, right? I want to host this beat battle. I want to host this type of event. I want to, get on Producer Culture. Like, is that something that you're just like, all right, let me execute quickly on it, or do you kind of sit on it for a little bit? You know what I mean? Like maybe test those ideas out with people in your community.
I mean, it kind of depends. Like UnBEATable, like it was something I kind of sat on for a while. Like it took me like getting hit by a car to be like, okay, well, I can't do much right now, so now's the time to sit down and like plan out like what I want to do. And I kind of just was like, okay, well, it's time to put together UnBEATable. And I sat there with a DJ / influencer that I manage, Raymond Beats, and we put it together. Like literally, like I sat there and I was like just telling him all my ideas, and I'm like, this is how I want to do that, this is how I want to do this. Like I want these people, I'm gonna put it together. I'm gonna do the website myself. I don't even know how to do a website, but I'm gonna figure it out. And that's literally just what I do. Like, I'm a really determined person, so I kind of just figured it out.
Do you like to kind of, so I just read this book recently called Who Not How, and it's kind of conditioned me to think of like, not how do I do this, but like who do I get to do this? And now I'm kind of like, I'm recently transitioning my brain to think like who, not how. Like, do you feel like for you, are you somebody that really likes to try to just kind of figure it out like on your own and like make it, you know, your way, or does your brain naturally gravitate towards the who? You know what I mean?
I actually have trouble with
Delegating.
not doing everything, with delegating. Yeah. Well, I had trouble with it. I would say like the job that I'm at now, like my boss, he kind of like was like real tough on me about like delegating, because I'm a project manager now, so like that's kind of my job to delegate. So like now I've gotten better with it, but I did used to be like the person that was like, I'm just gonna get it done. Like, you're not moving fast enough, I'm gonna get it done. Like, so
Damn. I feel that, because that's such a challenge. Like, as somebody who's like super entrepreneurial minded, I'm sure we're like kind of similar in that way. It definitely becomes a challenge where it's like we want to execute, we have a vision in our head, and it's like we want to put somebody in charge, but they're not moving fast enough, they're not doing it the way that we want it to do. So like, it's really a challenge to kind of do that at times, right?
Yeah, you just have to delegate and make sure that, you know, you work with your team to make sure that everyone gets it done.
So
see how you can help them, but make sure that, you know, they're the one that's like taking care of that responsibility.
Something I've struggled with recently is trying to find, all right, so I like to, as I'm sure you do as too, try to find people in my local circle that are able to kind of fill a task, which they're usually one of my close friends, but I oftentimes get kind of disappointed with their execution on it. So for you, do you like to kind of find people in your immediate circle, or do you kind of like to try to find maybe the best possible person for it, if you know what I mean? Because a lot of times friends disappoint, like when you delegate them things.
I mean, it depends on like it depends on the situation, because when I was like first starting, like I didn't have, you know, money to put people on payroll and like pay everybody for everything. So it's like you have to use your resources. So of course, like, I'm gonna go to my friends in my inner circle, and they were all really helpful. Like, so I would just be appreciative of whatever they could do and figure out everything else, you know?
Yeah, for sure. So like, when did you realize it's time for me to start my own company, like your own management consulting company? Like, was there like a pivotal moment where it's like, all right, now, you know, I've been doing this stuff for somebody else, and I already know how to do it for myself, so I might as well take it to like, you know, doing it on my own? How did that transition happen for you?
When I was working with 2C, his manager Flip, that was my boss. He was really like a second dad to me. And he was always like instilling that in me, like, one day it's gonna be you, like one day you're gonna be the manager. So I always knew that I wanted to do it, I just didn't know when. And then my, like, someone that I went to school with, who was like a little brother to me, Raymond Beats, of course, he was like, it was during COVID, and all we had was like TikTok. So, you know, like, he was putting his talents on TikTok, and he just started going up. But like, he didn't know how to like, it's like he knew what to do talent wise, but business wise, like, I was like, I could help you. Like, I just know I could take him like further. Like, I could take him where he wants to go. And I kind of just like reached out to him, and I was just like, let me help you. Like, I'll show you what I can do, and like, we'll just go from there. And we kind of did that and made like the perfect team. And I'm like, okay, well, if I could do this with an influencer, like, I know for sure, I mean, I have the experience. Like, I know for sure I can do this with producers, and I can do this with DJs, and I can do this with artists. Like,
Got you. So like, producers so you were working with 2C at that time, right? You're talking about 2C's manager, right? So what brought you into producers specifically?
Because he didn't only have 2C. At the time he had 2C, he had Tia Corinne, and then he had two producers, Ant Chamberlain and Speaker Bangers. So he was already teaching me like how to manage producers. Like, we were literally like, editing and writing producer agreement contracts, like, you know. So he was already instilling it in me. So I knew like at some point I wanted to manage a producer, but it was just like, am I ready for it yet?
Yeah. So what would you say the differences are between managing a producer and managing an artist? Like, I guess from the, you know, the management perspective.
I mean, it's a huge difference. Like with artists,
Yeah.
it comes with so much more. Like,
Yeah, I seen the videos of you on tour and like what
yeah,
that looks like and the pictures and stuff. I mean, producers probably don't deal with that.
it's really really long. Like, I mean, as a producer, like you can come in the studio, drop off beats and go. But like as the artist, like you gotta stay in the studio, and then as the manager, you have to be in the studio with them as well. For the most
Yeah.
part, I mean, like it depends on like what your process is, like as an artist and a manager. But like how me and my artists are like we kind of stuck it out together. Like when you leave, I leave. Okay, cool. And unless I had like something that I had to do, like then I
You
would
would
leave.
be in there with it, like no
but
matter what
yeah,
time
like,
he's in there, you'd be in there.
Yeah, literally sleeping on a couch in the studio, you know. So
Yeah, like what would you say your role is at that point? Like if you're not like, do you like to contribute to the creative elements of it, or maybe a slight perspective? Like what's it look like for you to be in the studio?
No, I mean, I once again, like it always depends on the type of artist that you have. Like my artist, he's not somebody that ever needed help with like lyrics. Like he goes in the booth and he freestyles off the top of his head, and he'll come out the booth in 10 minutes. And I never really heard like a trash song from him. So he was never somebody that needed lyrics, but more so like just a person that loved to be around good energy when he's recording. So
yeah,
he will always have like a few people in there, like his homeboys in there, I'm in there. Like sometimes he'll bring his son. He just liked to be around good energy when he recorded. That was just his thing.
Got you. So how do you, like, for these artists and producers, how do you get yourself into that role where it's like, all right, now I'm your manager, you know what I mean, or doing these management services? How do you kind of pivot your way into those situations?
Well, if you know that you want to manage someone, like that's kind of just what it is. I mean, I don't recommend doing any management services for anybody without like being on paper or contract. Like I don't recommend that at all.
Why not?
Because it could get really sticky.
Yeah.
Like you can be doing everything, and then when the time comes for payday, like it can be a case where you don't get anything just because you didn't sign any paper, and people take advantage of that. So
yeah.
So I definitely don't recommend that. Like when I was managing JD, I went to him, told him I wanted to be his manager. With my artist came to me and told me that he wanted me to be his manager. So it's like, make sure it's clear, make sure you have it on paper.
Got you. So as like, what would you say, so for producers, right, there's definitely a debate. I've heard it a couple times on ProducerGrind and other platforms. Like, what do you feel like the role of a producer manager is? Do you feel like a producer needs a manager? Or like when they get to a certain point, they obviously do, but like on those early mid-tier stages?
I mean, in the early stages, you don't need a manager because there's nothing to manage. Like, you don't have any affairs to manage.
Define early stage for you. Like, what do you feel like the early stage would be? If you have 5 placements that are, like...
I mean, I don't really think like it's a number thing. I think you just know when you're ready for a manager. Like, based on what you have going on. Like, you'll know when you're ready. For the longest, most producers just have a lawyer, and that like goes as what they would consider like a management system. So
yeah, I feel that. Yeah, like I definitely feel that. I mean, that's kind of why I started my company. I don't know how much you know about it, but Producer Royalty was kind of meant to address that middle class producer where it's like, all right, we're not like we're getting $500 to $1,000 to $2,000 for an advance. The lawyer costs $1,000, so it's like we don't necessarily have the budget to afford that. So I'm kind of working that middle ground where it's like I'm navigating, like I'll help you navigate the placement process and get you through that effectively without necessarily needing a lawyer, because I'm in my last year of law school. A lawyer yet, but point being, what do you feel like, is there anything in like, so there's obviously a lot of static between the producer and artist community at times. Do you feel like there's, as somebody who manages artists, do you feel like there's anything in the producer community that they don't really understand about the artist perspective, like something they're missing about the experience of an artist?
Yeah, the label side. A lot of producers and their team, they will get like really pushy about like payday, and they don't understand that that's not the artist's role. That is the label's role. Like the label will pay you, not the artist.
Yes.
And they get like really feisty, I would say, with the artist and his manager when they have nothing to do with that. That's the label. So
yeah, like a lot of times. So even pretty much all the time, like in my experience, when I'm trying to clear a song for a producer, I never really feel like in my clearance process, I never really feel like it's the artist perspective until they're like, all right, so there's those mid-tier artists where it's like they're kind of independent, they're working with like an Empire distribution, and like we're DMing them, they're leaving us on red. Like at that point, it's like, all right, you're not liaisoning it to the team, probably because they don't have a budget. So that's, I don't know how like your artists,
Right.
yeah. So but when you're with a major label and you're signed to them, you already have a budget per song. So I don't really understand why they're not paying them. But yeah, so for you and your artists, how do you kind of go about like clearing records for with producers at that point?
I mean, I'm really organized, so I just keep everything in a chart. Like in my chart, I'll have like who produced it, who their manager is, who their attorney is, like the contact info for that person, their PRO, and
Do you register
their
the songs for
publishing
the
company.
artist?
For my artist, yeah.
Yeah. How do you go about that usually?
Just register.
Just registering it? Like, yeah. Do you have them with a publishing admin company too? Or like, I don't really know how it really, okay, right? So I only work exclusively from the producer perspective, right? So like when we're registering songs on the producer's perspective, if they're with a publishing admin company, if we have everybody's name, legal name and the splits, we can register with the publishing admin company, even if we don't, yeah. So for you, how do you register it with BMI yourself too, or do you have like a publishing admin company that you work with too as well?
There's no publishing admin company, so we just register with BMI.
Yeah, okay, got you. And then like the producer will get their splits at that point.
Right.
Too. Yeah, got you. So, something I'm interested about is you've been working with Producer Culture for how long now? Like a year and a half?
Yeah.
Yeah, a year and a half. All right, bet. So, how did you wind up getting your way into Producer Culture initially? Right, that was a brand that started before you got in with them, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, what was your like background getting into them?
So when I did UnBEATable, I was looking, I mean, I'm not a producer, and like a lot of people in the music industry didn't know me, so I was looking for pages that cater to producers that I can promote my event on. So I came across Producer Culture, of course, because it's one of the biggest producer platforms, and I kind of just reached out to them like, hey, how much do you guys charge for promo or whatever? And they were just like, let's do a favor for a favor. Like, you interview some guys out there for us, because we're in the UK. And
they're based in the UK?
Yeah.
What? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So they were like, you interview some guys for us, and then we'll post your event for you. So I'm like, okay, cool. And we did that, and the first couple of interviews were like really good. So they were like, well, they weren't really good because I was just starting interviewing then, but they were like, usable. So
yeah,
they were just like,
good. I'm not gonna lie, I think they were pretty good. I think you did a great job. I think you're an amazing
thank you. I
interviewer.
appreciate
I feel
that.
like you have a very organic, just personalized, like it's just a conversation kind of personality.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like versus me, sometimes I feel a little exaggerated. So maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah. But you feel
I just
very
consider
organic.
it, like a conversation. So
yeah.
So from there, they just was like, okay, well, like we like these interviews. We kind of want to keep doing it. Like, how would you feel about like doing more interviews for us? And then we just kind of went from there, and we built a really good relationship. So
yeah,
shout out to the home team.
Yeah, fact. Shout out them. Like, I mean, it's amazing how you guys have found the way. Like, Producer Culture and ProducerGrind has found like synergies between them, and like you found ways to benefit each other. So
yeah,
like,
that was definitely like my goal, was to figure out a way that like we can do it together, because
yeah.
all the hate in the producer community, all it does is just hold us back. So it's just like we need to work together. So
yeah, for sure.
And now like the Producer Culture and ProducerGrind coming together and sharing these interviews like in collab posts and stuff like that, like it has made the impact of the producer community like so much bigger.
1,000,000%, right? So what do you feel like? Why do you feel like? What do you think this like? Not stigma, but kind of confrontational kind of perspective comes from in the producer community. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like a lot of times it feels like there's not synergy. But at the same time there is. But maybe because I'm looking at you guys that kind of. But I don't know. What's your perspective on just the producer community and maybe the negativity that comes from it?
I think there's tension in like a lot of the different industries. Like every industry you go to, there's going to be different tensions. So I think the problem is just like everybody thinks that it's a competition when really there's enough money out here for everybody.
Yeah.
just gotta work together to get it.
Yeah, and like the producer community is just in general is so underserved. Like there's not enough content creators. There might be enough beat makers on BeatStars. I think that's safe to say. Like there's enough beat makers on BeatStars. But like I think there's a ton of space, especially in the content space. I'm sure you understand it, and our audience understands that producers a lot of times become producers because they're not necessarily as interested in the limelight. So maybe that makes them naturally not as likely to get on camera, but I know it's a lot of times a tough transition to get on camera, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
For you, was it kind of like one of those where it's like, all right, I know the value of being on making content, but it's kind of, like I don't necessarily have a natural gravitational pull to it, was that something you wanted to get into, or just kind of fell into your lap?
It really just fell into my lap. Like I've never been like an on the person camera. Like even right now, like I'm a little uncomfortable because like I just don't really like being on camera.
Yeah.
But it was just like something that like I grew to love. Like now I'm going to love it, but it's still always like the little like I know like you guys will watch the interviews and you'll see me like fidgeting with my fingers and stuff. Like I think it's just the anxiety. Like I just have anxiety about like being on camera, but I'm growing to love it because I love to share the knowledge that I do have, with other people. So
and it's that perspective that really will motivate the community, you know what I mean? Because you're sitting on stage with Metro Boomin, and to be honest, I'm watching that and I didn't feel like you were nervous with Metro Boomin, you know what I mean? And that's the biggest producer like basically in the world,
we were definitely nervous. And we both were actually like really sick on that interview. Like we're around each other so much, like most of the time, like if TB's sick, I get sick, or if I'm sick, then he gets sick. So I had a fever of like 103.1, and then
during that interview,
literally, literally the reason the interview stopped, because we probably would have kept going for like another hour. Like it probably would have been 3
hours.
It probably would have been 4 hours. But literally at the like my voice literally like stopped. It just like my voice went out. Like literally I couldn't even talk anymore. So like we had to stop. Like I was drinking water, drinking tea, nothing was working. Like so we literally like had to stop. And then I lost my voice for like a week after that.
Just forcing yourself through it.
But it was like it was so worth it though. That was definitely like one of the best interviews that we ever did.
So. That was an insane interview. I just rewatched it recently. So like, do you have any like interview rituals or anything like that you like to do? Like, say anything that gets you kind of in the mode to like, all right, now it's content time, you know what I mean?
Not really. We don't really do anything special. I mean, like nothing? Sometimes we eat the snacks in the studio bowls. I mean, that's really it. But we don't really have any like rituals.
No, not at all.
Not
just
really.
Get into it. Like day of, you're like, all right, you wake up, you're like, because even like, when I was waking up yesterday and today, it's like, all right, this is the first episode of the Producer Royalty Podcast. I'm like my brain immediately knows when I open my eyes, like, oh fuck, like today's the day. You don't feel like that kind of like, oh fuck, I'm interviewing Metro Boomin today.
No, and actually that we didn't even know that we were gonna interview him for real until like we were trying to do that interview for so long. Like we didn't know for sure that the interview was happening until like the morning of for real. So it was just like, oh wow, like okay, we're interviewing Metro today. So it was just like, oh wow, what am I gonna wear? This is gonna be a big interview. Like, let me get my questions together. I mean, like that's really the biggest thing before interviews, like our questions. I would say TB is a little bit more better with that. Like he does his questions like a days before. Me, I wait till right before the interview and then I go in and add my questions.
No, I'm not gonna lie, I actually do too, because he in the last interview he said he preps it like a week before, and I saw him, I'm like, you prep it a week before? Like
he's very prepared with that.
I was surprised. I was like, okay.
No, he's like, when we went to LA, like y'all wouldn't even know, TB wrote all the questions. Like I didn't write any of the questions at LA, which is actually like, because I normally have like the best questions. He's gonna say he has the best questions, but I normally have the best questions. But for LA, I don't know what it was. Like I just wanted to go out there and I just wanted to talk. Like I didn't want to prepare any questions.
Who'd you interview in LA?
We did Kenny Beats, but we have to redo that interview. We did
did it come out?
We did Mike and Keys. That was like an off-camera interview, like something new we were trying, and I really liked how it came out. What's that mean to be
an off-camera interview?
It means like me and TB weren't in the camera, but we still interviewed them from behind the camera.
Yeah, interesting.
And then we did SOUTHSIDE, we did Taz Taylor.
That one came out, or that's another? Like,
it came out.
Yeah, that one came out, right? Yeah. Okay, bet. Yeah.
And then we did.
Then the SOUTHSIDE one obviously came out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we did another one. I can't remember what it is though.
Hmm.
We did 2 more, Hit Boy and we did Boy Wonder.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those were really
yeah,
good interviews
yeah.
too.
Facts. Those are great. Those are amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we used all the TB questions for that, and then everything I asked kind of came from here, or I just asked one of TB's questions.
Mm-hmm. Is there any do you feel like it's easier to book these? I know Producer Grind at this point has to be the biggest producer platform in the world.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Is it easier or harder to book guests than you would have expected it to be?
It's actually, it depends on the guest. I would say like some guests, like they hear about our platform, so they want to do it. Like some guests, they want to do it, but like their schedule is like a little hectic. Like Metro, like that was the problem. His schedule was hectic, so it's like we didn't know when he's gonna be in town, like if he would have time to do it when he's in town. So like he literally like squeezed us in type, you know.
Yeah.
So I was like really appreciative of that because we were really trying to get that interview for a long time. Like I kept pushing TB, like hit him up again. Like hit him up again. TB's like, I don't want to keep bothering him. I'm like, TB, just hit him up again. And like eventually like we got it. Same thing with Southside. Like his schedule is like really crazy. Like we were actually supposed to interview him the day before the actual day that we interviewed him, but his schedule is like crazy. So we went all the way up there and we had to come back.
What's up there
to where he was, to where we were doing the interview at.
Yeah.
And we couldn't do it, so we had to come back and then go try again the next day, and then we finally got it done. Like it's just sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's easy. It really just like depends on the person. So.
Okay, yeah. Any surprises like being in rooms with these big people? Is there anything that kind of like was like, oh, I didn't expect that when you're in the room with really anybody of this size?
They're all just like, it wasn't really surprising, but it's just like, it's good to know. Like they're all really like cool and humble, like down to earth people. I would say like, I don't think we had any interview where like the person was like rude or anything like that. Like everybody was like super nice to us. Like they were, you know, really cool, down to earth. It was easy to talk to them. So yeah. So for you, so there's not enough producers that are in media. I'm sure we could all agree with that. Like, do you feel like there's anything in particular that you would say to the producers that, you know, are interested in media, but they haven't like committed to it fully? Yes, I would say definitely get out there and create that content. Like you never know how it could change your life, because this like Producer Grind and Producer Culture has definitely changed my life in so many ways. I'm literally like trying to force myself to do more content. TB literally gets on me about it every day. He's like, you don't even know, like you could be like way bigger than we are right now. Like you just got to get out there and put out the content. So I'm working on something. It's coming soon. I'm gonna do it. I think you guys should do it too. There's never enough content.
Yeah, there's never enough content, you would say?
No.
I feel like that personally, especially the producer community. It's just a complete void. Like if you have any type of brand, it seems like people
put
will
it
tap
out
into
there.
it in general.
Definitely put it
and
out
you have
there.
like a unique business perspective as well too, where it's like there's not many business people that are devoting their brand, their identity, that are known for being in the producer community. You know what I mean? So I think you have a great potential in that. So
thank you.
Yeah. So building off of that, when you got into the events, like, can you tell us a little bit about getting into the event space? Like how you what was the first event that you hosted specifically, and how did that go?
I mean, like since being in school, I would always like help with events. But like my first own event was UnBEATable.
UnBEATable was the first one?
Yeah, the very first beat battle that I did in April of last year.
Yeah.
Who was the judges?
Like you were the main one that like was like, this is my, from reading the bio and everything about it, seems like you were, right? So your idea entirely?
Yeah, there was nobody else. Twisted Genius was just kind enough. Like I said, I'm still not a producer. I know a little bit about producing, but I'm still not a producer. So when I came up with the event, I knew that I would need like a familiar face that people knew to make them realize like, okay, like this, I can trust this. Like it's not a scam. So I reached out to Twisted Genius, who was like really close with like Ant Chamberlain is like a brother to me now. So like Ant like connected me with Twisted, and now like Twisted is like a brother to me now. So I reached out to Twisted and I was like, hey, I'm doing this beat battle / DJ battle, and I would love to like, put your name on it, like see how we could like help each other. And so he was kind enough to be like, yeah, let's do it. Like, even though he had his own thing going on, he was just like, yeah, like let's do it. Like I'm all down for it. But yeah, it was definitely like my event,
Yeah.
had to do all the groundwork,
Everything.
building it.
I'm sure that was a lot.
all the content, the promotion. Like at that time, everything was me. Like I did the website myself, like recording all the little pieces of content. Like now I have a social media manager, but like back then, like I was recording everything myself. I had to go everywhere, like get all the gift bags, like like getting the judges. That was
every idea that happened that day was like that was you. That was all a byproduct that came from your brain.
Yes.
So like maybe you put some people into like making it happen, but yeah.
I would say, and then like I had a few close friends like at the time who like came and like helped out like the day of, and like a few days before, because I do these well, I don't really want to tell too much about it. I don't want to, let people steal my idea. But I do like a little event before my event to, get everybody warmed up and stuff. So like my friends were like really helpful with that, helping me organize that and stuff. So
yeah. So for you, how do you like to organize the day of the event? Because this is maybe a selfish question, because I want to get into hosting events very soon too. So it's like, but I think that a lot of producers should start hosting more events too. So like, how do you go about, all right, I have this idea for an event to actually like, let's make it happen. You know what I mean? Is there a way that you structure yourself in particular?
When I first started, I would say I definitely learned a lot. Because when I first started, I was just like, okay, what's everything you need to do an event? Like you need a venue, you need a date, you need a time. You need judges. I needed a host. I needed a DJ. Okay, cool. I got everything. Yeah. But no, there's so much more. Like there's so much more. So now I literally like have checklists, like literally like checklist everything. Like, okay, like I'll have a different checklist for everything. Like gift bags has a checklist. Venue has its own checklist. Like DJ has its own checklist. Like did I send the beats to the DJ? Like literally make a checklist for everything and make sure I cross it off. Oh, you know what? I do want to go back on one thing though. When I planned UnBEATable, all the ideas were mine, but I will say that I did have a lot of help from a friend. Her name was Jada, and she literally like she gave me the confidence to get everything done. Like at one point I was kind of just like, I don't know if I can pull this off. Like it seems like it's getting kind of bigger than it actually than I thought it was going to be. And I just like didn't know what to do. What
makes you say that? Like tickets were getting booked more?
Yeah. Like I don't know when, like, I don't know what changed, but it was just like a point in time where it was like, everything was so slow. Like nothing was really selling. Like it was just like, okay. And then all of a sudden, like, all the slots were just going. Like, I only had, like, at that time, I think I only had, like, 10, 15 slots or something like that. And then I had, for
producers
for the beat battle. Yeah. And then I had, like, looked up one day and, like, I had way more than 15 applicants. So it was just like, whoa, I can't have all these people. Like, when did all these people even sign up? Like, it was just crazy. It was just like, oh, wow, like, this is big. Like people are seeing my event. Like, so it was just like, oh wow, and she just, gave me the confidence and like instilled in me, like, you got this. Like, this is nothing to you. Like, I can see the type of person you are. And I know like this is something that you can handle. And this is going to be an amazing event. Like she even told me, cause one thing that I really had trouble with was like knowing what to say and how to say it. Like I'm just a really upfront person. Like I'm from New York, so you know how we talk. So I'm just really like straightforward, and you can't be like that in the industry. So like she would literally, like, I would write a paragraph how I would say it, and then she would go and edit it like, no, this is how you should say it. And in like literally with everything from sponsors to asking the judges to inviting different people in the industry to the event. And I'm like so appreciative of her for that. Like she was such a big help. Like literally an amazing person.
Yeah, it's incredible to have that one person by your side where it's like, even if you don't like. So I know in my perspective, like when I'm just getting into delegating recently, even though I know maybe I feel like I would do something better, just having another perspective on it just adds so much just comfort. Like when you're managing this entire event, and maybe subconsciously part of it is just because if something goes wrong, it's also this person's to blame as well too. I don't know. Maybe.
Oh no, it was literally like nothing to like blame her for. Like she was just it literally was nothing to do with that. Like it was all good. Like literally, she was just super super helpful. Like she was putting time into everything just like me. Like, I mean, she had her own stuff going on, so she wouldn't be everywhere I needed to be. But like like when I was doing like interviews, she would come with me, like help me pass out wristbands. Like she was a part of like when we were filming the little documentary. I don't know if you guys ever saw that, but like I did like a documentary for the first UnBEATable. It's on YouTube. You can still see it today. Like she was there for me there. Like she helped me when I was like trying to figure out picking the beats, like trying to figure out who's gonna actually be in the beat battle. So
yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, she was just super helpful.
Do you have any suggestions for, or just how did you guys organize the beat battle? I guess, like, how do you kind of, and maybe this is another selfish question because I also want to host a beat battle. So how did you organize it? How is it structured? Like, what even is a beat battle? Like, how did you go about it?
I wanted to do like my beat battle different from other people. So like my thing was like, how would I do it different? So it was just like different components that I added to make it different. I mean, I guess everybody does the different rounds now, but like one of the things that made my beat battle different was like the last round would be like a cook up on the spot. Like literally, you had to literally
just
make
cook
the
up,
beat.
like just straight. Like, did you give them any type of starter or anything, or they just had to make a cook up?
And it was they had to be able to cook up from scratch, like not using nobody
in front of everybody.
So basically like they didn't do it in front of everybody, but they like basically they sat along, it was like on the stage, it was like a wall where you could see them, and everybody literally had their laptops out sitting along the stage like cooking up their beats, and then they went in front of the judges. Like I think we only gave them like 3 to 5 minutes to do it. And then they went in front of the judges and played the beats, and it was something that became a part of like all my beat battles.
Damn. Wow. So what about the writers camp? Because I know you hosted like a writers camp with that too, right?
Yeah.
So how do you structure that?
Once again, like when I'm doing any event, I always think, because once everybody does beat battles, and then I would say like once I started, everybody does beat battles and everybody does camps, but it was like kind of died down when I had started it. So I would say like once I did it, it became like really popular again. Not to say like people are copying off of me, but you get what I'm saying.
They might
like
be copying off me.
That's
okay to say. If they copy.
It just got really, really popular again, and then next thing I know, like everybody was doing beat battles, everybody was doing camp. So I'm just like, okay, well I need something that's gonna make mine different. So with the camp, I was like, all these producers are throwing camps so they can cook up with each other, but like, what are y'all doing with the beats? So I'm like, I'm gonna have a camp where I actually bring artists to record on the beats. So I brought Enchanting, Anti the Menace. I think the first one I brought Anti the Menace, Big Brat, and Youngstown, and then the second, like the next camp that I had was Enchanting. So
yeah, do you have a lot of? I think this might be my last question tonight. But do you feel like there's a lot of ideas that you have that like you wind up scrapping, or if you have, is there a good percentage of your ideas that like most of your ideas that you wind up actually executing on?
I think I execute all of my ideas, like, but I just know like from now, I just want to say I'm not having no more beat battles and I'm not having no more camps.
No?
Yeah.
Why not?
They're really like played out now. Like when I say like literally everybody's doing it for money, so it's taking the value out of it.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never seen one in New York. I've never seen one. I don't know. Do you know of any in New York?
So that's the thing. They're doing it in like Atlanta and LA, which is why I'm doing the UnBEATable tour like of beat battles, but I'm not having any more like in Atlanta. I'm not having no more camps in Atlanta.
Please bring it to New York, I beg you. I would love to find any producer event in New York.
I'm definitely gonna take them
we might have
to different cities.
Something like that. You don't have to hold me to that, but like I'm definitely, I'm gonna ask you questions on how do I organize my own if you don't want to clap.
Yeah, of course, of course.
I would love to host something like that, but I really appreciate you coming through and sharing your perspective.
Yeah,
and
no
your
problem.
Story and everything. Like I think this was an amazing interview myself. So I thank you so much.
Thank you. You asked really good questions.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I think you ask amazing questions. So,
thank you.
I'm drawing inspiration from you. I actually got there might be a couple on these that I actually got from ProducerGrind.
Really?
I think there might be. Yeah.
I work hard on the questions, y'all.
Yeah, I know you do, right? Yo, thank you so much, Mimi.
No problem.
Appreciate you. Thank you guys. I appreciate you. And yeah, we'll be back for another episode soon.